What do you do when your country's borders close overnight and 90% of your food is imported? In 2017, Qatar faced exactly that. A sudden regional blockade shut off trade routes, and within days, dairy products vanished from supermarket shelves. But instead of waiting for the crisis to pass, Qatar decided to build its own food supply chain from scratch. This is the story of Baladna, a company that airlifted 4,000 cows into the desert, built a dairy empire in the middle of a food emergency, and turned a national crisis into a $220 million business. Today, Baladna supplies over 95% of Qatar's fresh milk, exports to more than 11 countries, and is listed on the Qatar Stock Exchange. But more than that, it's a case study in speed, scale, and sovereignty, showing how urgency, infrastructure, and execution can come together to solve a critical national problem. What does it take to build a supply chain from scratch, at startup speed? How do you turn a government emergency into a publicly listed business? And what can the rest of the world learn from a dairy company in the desert? Before the blockade, Qatar relied heavily on food imports. Over 90% of all food products came from abroad, and almost all of its dairy came through land routes from Saudi Arabia. Local agriculture existed, but at a small scale. In a desert climate with limited arable land, producing fresh milk at scale seemed unrealistic. Food security wasn't a national business priority until it had to be. In June 2017, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Egypt cut diplomatic ties with Qatar and blocked all land, air, and sea access. Supermarket shelves emptied overnight. Dairy imports stopped entirely. The blockade turned food supply into a matter of national survival. That's when Baladna stepped in. With support from Qatar's government and private investors, Baladna launched one of the most aggressive agriculture projects the region had ever seen. It began with a global media headline: 4,000 Holstein cows flown in from Europe and the United States packed onto cargo planes. Construction began on a massive dairy complex in Al Khor, over 247 acres of climate-controlled barns, water recycling systems, feed production units, and fully automated milking parlors. What started as an emergency response quickly became the foundation of a new national industry. By 2019, just 2 years after the blockade began, Baladna was producing enough milk to meet 100% of Qatar's domestic demand. The company expanded its product line to include yogurt, cheese, laban, and juice. Its branding was everywhere, in every home and on every shelf. Later that year, Baladna went public on the Qatar Stock Exchange, raising over $392 million in its IPO. By 2023, the company was generating more than $220 million in annual revenue, with over $42 million in profit. It had evolved from a stopgap solution to a dominant national company. After securing Qatar's dairy supply, Baladna started looking outward. It began exporting to markets like Kuwait, Oman, Afghanistan, and the Philippines. It launched joint ventures in Malaysia, signed memorandums of understanding in Algeria, and explored agricultural partnerships in North Africa and Eastern Europe. Its ambition was no longer just national food security, it was building a regional footprint in food resilience. What made Baladna work wasn't branding, it was systems. The company controlled its entire supply chain, owning everything from feed production to distribution. It adapted climate technology to manage dairy in desert conditions, using evaporative cooling systems and water recycling to keep operations sustainable. Public-private collaboration provided the capital and logistics. And most importantly, the urgency created by the blockade gave the company a singular focus: make Qatar self-reliant, fast. This wasn't a startup built to chase scale. It was built to solve a real, urgent problem, and in the process, it scaled anyway. Baladna didn't begin as a brand. It began as a national necessity. In just 2 years, it helped Qatar become self-sufficient in dairy production, not to turn a profit, but to secure sovereignty. But what came after was a company that proved food infrastructure could be built with the speed and mindset of a tech startup. It went public, scaled regionally, and became a symbol of resilience. For founders and operators everywhere, Baladna is more than a story about cows in the desert. It's a case study in execution of how to turn crisis into capability and capability into competitive advantage. Baladna shows us that food security isn't just policy, it's one of the most important growth markets of the future.